Hello, grade 9 students. Let us continue discussing about variations, the different types of variations, which are the direct, inverse, joint, and combined variation. So this is part 2 or version 2 of our discussion on variations. So before that, let us first have a warm up. Let us solve each equation. For number 1, 2.4 over x equals 2 over 9. How do you solve that for x? Easy, right? Just use cross products. Multiply x by 2. Multiply it equals 2.4 times 9. And divide both sides by 2. The answer is 10.8. How about here, number 2? 1.6x equals 1.8 times 24.8. First, we multiply 1.8 by 24.8 and divide the product of this by 1.6, and the result is 27.9. Okay, did you get the same answer? Yes. Now, determine whether each data set could represent a linear function. Number 3. The x values are 2, 4, 6, 8. The y functions, and y coordinates we have y coordinates 12, 6, 4, 3. The answer is no. Kasi as x increases, y decreases. So it's not anymore a linear function. Hyperbola na yan. Pero dito, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1. Negative 6, negative 2, 2, 6. As x increases, y also increases. So I think yes. Yes, it represents a linear function. So objective for this PowerPoint presentation: solve problems involving direct, inverse, joint, and combined variation. So these are the vocabulary, not new anymore to you. We have discussed this in part 1, part 2. Direct variation, constant variation, joint variation, inverse variation, combined variation. So in our part 1 and part 2, you studied many types of linear functions. One special type of linear function is called direct variation. The direct variation is a relationship between two variables x and y that can be written in the form y equals kx, where k is not equal to 0. In this relationship, k is the constant of variation. And for the equation y equals kx, y varies directly as x. A direct variation equation is a linear equation in the form y equals mx plus b, where b equals 0, and the constant of variation k is the slope. Okay, sinasabi dito that yung constant of variation k is also the same as the slope of a line. And also, direct variation is comparable to a linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b. Because b equals 0, the graph of direct variation always passes through the origin. Example 1, writing and graphing direct variation. Y varies directly as x and y equals 7 when x equals 6. Write and graph the direct variation. Okay, it will be our equation here. Y equals kx. Basta pag direct variation, y equals kx. Now, let us solve for the constant of variation. Oh, just divide y by x. 27 divided by 6 is 4.5. Okay. So, pag direct variation, to solve for k, just divide y and x. 7 divided by 6 is 4.5. So, that's the constant of variation. Therefore, the equation is equal to y equals kx, or y equals 4.5x. Constant of variation, 4.5, equation y equals 4.5x. So continue, example 1, let us graph the, okay, from the equation y equals 4.5x, parang ano to, linear equation, the form y equals mx plus b. B is 0, the y-intercept is 0, so it will pass through the point of origin. And then 4.5 is the constant variation as well. It's equal to the slope. So that's equivalent to 9 halves. 9 rise, 2 run to the right. Here. So from here, from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2. Right. So that means the slope is 4.5. 9 over 2. Right. So check, substitute the original value of x and y into the equation. Yes. Substitute 27 by y, x by 6. So 27 is equal to 4.5 times 6. 4.5 times 6 is 27. 27 is equal to 27. So if k is positive in the direct variation, the value of y increases as the value of x increases. Another example 1, graph y bar is directly as x and y equals 6.5 when x equals 13. Write and graph the direct variation function. So it's just the same. It has the same procedure as what we did in first example. So pag direct variation equation niya is y equals kx. To solve for k, just divide y by x. 6.5 divided by 13. That's equivalent to 0.5. That's the constant of variation. Therefore, the equation is y equals 0.5x. Y equals 0.5x. This is a linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b. This is the equation of the direct variation. At the same time, this is also a linear function wherein the slope is 1/2, 0.5. So since y-intercept is 0, okay, we'll pass through the point of origin and 1/2, rise ka ng 1, run to 2, 1, 2, tama, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, okay. So the slope is 1/2. So connecting the points we have here. This is the graph of y equals 0.5x. Now substitute the original values of x and y into the equation. Y equals 0.5x, 6.5 plus 0.5 times 13, 6.5 equals 6.5. Check. Now, when you want to find specific values in the direct variation problem, you can solve for k and then use substitution, or you can use a proportion derived below. Okay, meron tayong derived na proportion dito to solve for k. Yan. So, ito na yung final. Y sub 1 over x sub 1 equals y sub 2 over x sub 2. Yeah, remember that. The cost of an item in euros, E, varies directly as the cost of the item in dollars, D. And E equals 3.85 euros when D is equal to $5. Find D when E is equal to 10 euros. Me. So it says here that E varies directly as the cost of the item. So the equation is E equals KD. Now let's find K. Just divide E by D. 3.85 divided by 5 is 0.77. That's the value of K. Therefore the equation is C equals 0.77D. Now find D when E equals 10 euros. So substitute E from this equation equals 0.77D. Substitute E by E, 10 euros. So for D, then 10 divided by 0.77 is equal to 12.99. Yeah. Method 2. There's another method to solve example 2 aside from this method, solving for k and then substitute k in the equation of variation, and then to solve for the unknown D, substitute again E10 to equals KD. But let us see another method. Maybe it's this is easier. E1 over D, E sub 1 over D sub 1 equals E sub 2 over D sub 2. Yes. Since E varies directly as D, we have E sub 1 over D sub 1 equals E sub 2 over D sub 2. Substitute, just substitute. So, para magkakaroon tayo ng proportion dito. For E sub 1, 3.85 over 5. For E sub 2, 10 over D. So, ang hinahanap natin ngayon dito, yung D sub 2. So, cross multiply, cross products, 3.85D equals 10 times 5 is 50. Divided by 3.85 is 12.99, which is the same result as we have done here in method 1. 12.99 is the value of D. Okay, another. The perimeter P of a regular dodecagon varies directly as the side length S and P equals 18 inches when S equals 1.5 inches. Find S when P equals 75 inches. So, pag direct variation, we can now be able to have method 2, no? Okay. Yes, perimeter varies directly as the side S. So P sub 1 over S1 equals P sub 2 over S2. Pwede yun. But we can also use the method 1 that we are capable in doing. Or I mean that we are used to in doing. So for method 1, since P is varies directly as S, we have P equals Ks. Solving for K, just divide P by S. P18 divided by 1.5 equivalent to 12. So the constant of variation is 12. Substitute in P equals Ks, P equals 12S. Yan. So sa P equals 12S, yan, this is now the equation of variation. Now, question is find S when P equals 75. So substitute P by 75 equals 12S. Solve for S. 75 divided by 12, 6.25 is the value of S when P equals 75 inches. Now, using method 2, since P varies directly as the side length, we can use this formula. P sub 1 over S sub 1 equals P sub 2 over S sub 2. Then just substitute 18 over 1.5 equals 75 over S. We're trying to find here the value of S sub 2S. So cross products, 18S equals 75 times 1.5, 112.5 divided by 18 is 6.25. The same result was obtained. Next, let's proceed to joint variation. A joint variation is a relationship among three variables that can be written in the form y equals kxa, where k is the constant of variation. For the equation y equals kxa, y varies jointly as x and z. Reading math. The phrases y varies directly as x and y is directly proportional to x have the same meaning. Yes. Same meaning yung varies directly as directly proportional. Example, the volume V of a cone varies jointly as the area of the base and the height, h. And volume is equal to 12 pi feet cubed when base B equals 9 pi feet cubed. Dapat square yan. Kasi base. The base of a cone is a circle. Dapat square ito. Can we edit? I think it's square. Yan. And h equals 4 feet. Find B when the volume is 24 pi feet squared and height is 9 feet. Okay, you can solve this using two methods. For method 1, step 1, find K. And the equation is V equals K BH. So this is a joint variation. It consists of two or more variables. Then substitute. Okay, listen. V is 12 pi. Cos K, base is 9 pi. Equals H is 4. From here, we can now solve for K. Cancel pi. 12 divided by 36 yan. 1/3 yata yan. 1/3 ang K. Now, solve for B when B equals 24 feet. You can now substitute K here in the equation. B equals KBH. So, B equals 1/3 BH. So, from here, we can now substitute V by 24 and H by 9. Solving for B, we have bale 24 divided by 3 na yan. Kasi 9 divided by 3 is 3. 24 pi divided by 3, yun na yung value ng B. 8 pi. Diba? 9 divided by 3 here is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8 pi. So the base is 8 pi feet squared. Alright, when B is 24 pi feet cube and height is 9 feet. Ayan. Another example, the lateral surface area L of a cone varies jointly as the area of the base radius R and the slant height L and area L is 63 pi meters squared when R is 3.5 meters and L is 18 meters. Find R to the nearest tenth when L equals 8 pi meters squared and L equals 5m. First, let's find K. It says here the lateral surface area L of a cone varies jointly as the area of the base and radius. Base radius R and the slant height L. So, equation is L equals KRL, small letter L. So from here, let us substitute 63 equals 63 pi equals k times 3.5 times 18. So solve for k, just divide 63 pi by 3.5 times 18, which is equal to pi, because 18 times 3.5, 7 halves na yan. So 18 times 7 halves, 9 times 7, 63. So 63 pi divided by 63 is pi. K equals pi. So therefore the equation is L equals pi pi RL. Ito na yung equation of variation. L equals, capital L equals pi RL, small r. Now, find R. Ang hanapin natin ngayon ito, find R to the nearest end when L equals 8 pi meter squared and L equals 5 m. Substitute na naman. L is 8 pi cos pi R. R is unknown. L is 5 meters. So, from here, we can now divide 8 pi by 5 pi. So, 8 pips lang ang sagot dyan. 8 pips or 1.6. Cancel yung pi. So, the nearest 10, R is equal to 1.6. The third type of variation describes a situation in which one quantity increases and the other decreases. For example, the table shows that the time needed to derive 1600 miles decreases as speed increases. So, if you have here, as in speed increases, the yes, the time, as the speed increases 30, 40, 50, the time decreases at a constant 600 miles. Yeah. So this type of variation is an inverse variation. An inverse variation is a relationship between two variables x and y that can be written in the form y equals k over x where k is not equal to 0. For the equation y equals k over x, y varies inversely as x. Yan. So pag as the speed increases, the h or the time decreases, yon, inverse variation yan. As x increases, y decreases. As x increases, y decreases, inverse variation. The equation is y equals k over x. And solve for k, we just multiply y by x. Unlike sa direct variation, to solve for k, we just divide y by x. Now let's have here example. Y varies inversely as x and y equals 4 when x equals 5. Write and grab the inverse variation function. So if y varies inversely as x, y equals k over x. That's the equation. Now to solve for k, you just multiply x and y. 4 times 5, 20. 20. That's the constant of variation. Then substitute 20 here. Y equals k over x. So y equals 20 over x is the variation formula. Example 4. To graph, make a table of values for both positive and negative values of x, plot the points, and connect them with two smooth curves. Because division by 0 is undefined, the function is undefined when x equals 0. Yan. Yun, kasi ang variation equation is y equals 20 over x. Negative 2, negative 10, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 10 thirds, negative 8, negative 5, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 10 thirds, 5 halves. So if you graph this, you can form two curves here, two smooth curves, which are actually what we call hyperbola, which we will discuss on the fourth quarter. Yes. Okay, another example, given y varies inversely as x and y equals 4. By the way, pag direct variation, the graph is a straight line. So pag inverse variation, the graph is a smooth curve here. Two smooth curves, what you say. The graph is two smooth curves. Now, y varies inversely as x and y equals 4 and x equals 10. Right? And grab the inverse variation function. Y equals k over x. Pag inverse, so for k, just multiply y and x. 10 times 4 is 40. So 40 ang constant of variation. Now, write the variation formula. Y equals 40 over x. And that is now the variation formula. Y equals 40 over x. And let us now graph. have here. So again, the graph, connect the points. Where did we get negative 20? If x is negative 2, just substitute here. Y was 40 over x. 40 over x. 40 divided by negative 2 is negative 20. 40 divided by negative 4, negative 10. Ganun lang. This is the positive part. Positive part here. Pag 0 undefined, so iniwasan natin yung 0. Okay? Iniwasan natin yung 0. So we get rid of 0 as x value because it will be undefined. 40 over 0 is undefined. 40 over yung 1, negative 1 pwede rin. 40 divided by negative 1 is negative 40. So again, you graph, you plot these points, coordinates here, connecting the points. We will form two smooth curves. Now when you want to find specific values in an inverse variation problem, you can solve for k and then use the substitution. You can use the equation that I below here. Para sa inverse variation naman, y sub 1 x sub 1 equals y sub 2 x sub 2 times. Sa direct variation, yung shortcut is y sub 1 over x sub 1 equals y sub 2 over x sub 2. Pero sa pag-inverse, just multiply y sub 1 and x sub 1 equals y sub 2 and x sub 2. Sports application. Time t needed to complete a certain race varies inverse this the runner's average speed s. If a runner with an average speed of 8.82 miles per hour completes the race in 2.97 hours, what is the average speed of the runner who completes the race in 3.5 hours? Method 1. Let us first find k. T varies inversely as the runner's speed. So our equation is t equals k over s. Yun. T equals k over s. To solve for k, we just multiply t by s here. Time is 2.97 times 8.82. 2.97 times 8.92. 82 is 26.1954. This is the constant of variation. Substitute this to t over k over s. This is now our equation of variation. Now, what is the average of speed of the runner who completes the race in 3.5 hours? Now, if t is 3.5, what is s? Yun yung question. So, substitute here in the equation of variation. Just divide 26.1954 by 3.5. Yun na yung value ng s, which is equivalent to 7.48. That's method 1. Method 2 is we can use the formula t1, t sub 1, s sub 1 equals t sub 2 times s sub 2. Yan. 2.97 times 8.982 equals 3.5s. 2.97 times 8.82 equals 3.5s. So, to solve for s, just multiply 2.97 by 8.82 divided by 3.5. It's equivalent to 7.48. Which is the same as what we have gotten here in method 1. 7.48 is s. So, the average speed of a runner completes the race in 3.5 hours is approximately 7.48 miles per hour. Next, example 5, the time t that it takes for a group of volunteers to construct a house varies inversely as the number of volunteers. B. If 20 volunteers can build a house in 62.5 working hours, how many working hours would it take 15 volunteers to build the house? So, pag inverse variation, okay, find k first by this method 1. T equals k over v is the equation. Solve for k, just multiply t by v. So, 20 times 62.5 now, which is 12,050 or 1,200, 1,250 or 1,250 is the constant of variation. Substitute k here in the equation of variation. T equals 1,250 over v. Now the question is, how many working hours will it take 15 volunteers to build the house? So t, hanapin natin yung t, is divide 1,250 over v. I mean 1,250 by 15. Divide, so therefore 83 and 1/3. So it will takes the 15 volunteers to build the house is 83 and 1/3 hours. Okay, since this inverse function, inverse variation, we can use another formula for method 2. T1 is t sub 1 times b sub 1 equals t sub 2 over b sub 2. Pag direct, divide mo lang yung t1 and b1. Then substitute 62.5, 20 yung T1 and B1. B sub 1, B sub 1. B sub 2 is 15. B sub 2 is 15. Okay, first multiply 62.5 by 20 divided by 15. 83 and 1/3. Okay, we obtain the same result. So the number of working hours it would take 15 volunteers to build the house is approximately 83 and 1/3 hours. You can use algebra to rewrite variation functions in terms of K. Yes, for direct variation, the equation is y equals k over x. To solve for k, just divide y by x. For inverse variation, y equals k over x. Solve for k, just multiply xy. Notice that in direct variation, the ratio of the two quantities is constant. In inverse variation, the product of the two quantities is constant. Alright. Example 6, identifying direct and inverse variation. Determine whether each data set represents direct, inverse, or neither. Letter A. What do you think? In each case, xy equals 52. So the product is constant. So this represents an inverse variation. Inverse. As x increases, y decreases. As x increases, y increases also. So in B, direct variation naman to. So in each case, the constant is 6. So this represents a direct variation. Letter A, inverse variation. Letter B, direct variation. How about C? 368, 514, 21. This is neither a direct variation nor an inverse variation. Why? Because there is no constant variation. 5 divided 5/3 yan, 7/3 naman yan. Yeah, there is no constant of variation. That means it is neither a direct or inverse variation. 6A. Okay, there's a constant variation which is 45. As x decreases, y also decreases. So direct to. So to solve for k, just multiply this x and y. 45. So this represents an inverse variation. What inverse variation yan? 6a. Yes, as x increases, y decreases. So sa 6a, so inverse variation yan. And the constant is 45. Just multiply x and y. How about here 6b? 140, 26. 0.28 by 0.2. As x increase, wait. 140, 26. Let's see. If we divide y by x, 0.2 ang answer. 1 divided by, wait. 0.2 divided by 1, yes. As we divide y by x, the ratio is constant. So this represents a direct variation for numbers. 6b. Let's now proceed to another type of variation. It's called the combined variation. Combined variation is a relationship that contains both direct and inverse variation. Quantities that vary directly appear in the numerator, and quantities that vary inversely appear in the denominator. So combined is just a combination of direct and inverse, and sometimes joint. We have here chemistry application. The change in temperature of an aluminum wire varies inversely as its mass m and directly as the amount of heat energy E transferred. Temperature of an aluminum wire with a mass of 0.1 kg rises 5 degrees Celsius when 450 joules of heat energy are transferred to it. How much heat energy must be transferred to an aluminum wire with a mass of 0.2 kg raised its temperature 20 degrees? Temperature 20 degrees Celsius. So this is a kind of combined variation. As you can see, varies inversely and directly. So combined. So what will be our equation? This will be our equation for delta T equals Ke over m. Right? Change in temperature, so delta T. Varies inversely as its mass. So yung m nasa baba. Tapos yung E, ano yung E? E energy. Okay, it says bodies directly as E, so Ke over M. So now to solve for K, substitute now. The temperature is 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Energy is 450 joules. Mass is 0.1 kilogram. Then we can now solve for K here by multiplying 5 by 0.1 divided by 450. It's equivalent to 1 over 900. So this is the constant of variation 1 over 900. Substitute K here in the equation. Delta T is equal to 1 over 1 over 900. Substitute K by 1 over 900. So delta T equals E over 900 M. This is now the equation of variation. Now there's a question. So find the energy when the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, applying an energy of 900 joules. Let's substitute here in the equation of variation. Solving for E, we have just multiply 900 and 0.2 and 20. That will be the answer, 3600. So the amount of heat energy that must be transferred is 3600 joules. Alright. Another. The volume V of a gas varies inversely as the pressure P and directly as the temperature T. A certain gas has a volume of 10 liters L, a temperature of 300 kelvins K, and a pressure of 1.5 atmosphere ATM. If the gas is heated 400 K and has a pressure of 1 ATM, what is its volume? Again, this is an example of a combined variation because it says here inversely and directly. Combination of inverse and direct. So first, what will be our equation? Let's first find K. Volume is inversely as P and directly as T. So substitute the given. The volume is 10, temperature 300, pressure 1.5. Let us now solve for K. Just multiply 10 by 1.5 divided by 300, which is 0.05. It's the constant of variation. Substitute constant of variation here in the equation of variation. V equals 0.05 T over P. Yan. Now the question is, what is the volume when the temperature is 400 and the pressure is 1? Okay, 0.05 times 400 divided by 1 is 20. So the new volume will be 20 liters. Right. So for your quiz, answer number 1 and number 2. Yan. So number 1, joint variation. Ito naman sa number 2. Okay. Inverse variation. Right. So meron ng answer for number 1, 18 square feet. And for number 2, $12.50. And the solution, kailangan yung solution. Show your solution to these two problems. Lesson quiz part 1. Right? Screenshot on this part. And meron pa dito yung number 3. This is, I think, inversely. Okay, combined variation. Inversely and directly. And the answer is 3.3. Okay. 3.3 ATM. Atmosphere yan. Atmosphere yan. Ayun, pressure. What will be the new pressure? Okay, that ends our part 2 of part 2 discussion of variation functions. Okay, I'll see you again next time. Goodbye. Thank you.